Hey guys, welcome to another video here on my channel. My name is DRAH and I'm here with HEYOKA. And this video, we tried doing two fun videos and I might post one of them. I'm still thinking about it, but this video is a little more serious video. This video is we're going to talk about George Floyd, talk about the riots, we're going to talk about our own opinions on everything that's happening. And yeah, we've got a little bit of alcohol in us. Not that that matters, but it just opens us up a little bit for more free speech. I thought you were coming at me with that. And so
What if I was just like a psycho in the background of all your videos, like literally just doing this, like just going crazy in every video?
Probably get more views. So
You're being normal.
what we're gonna do is we're gonna talk about all that stuff. So I've got World Star open here. I'm on the on the what's it called? On the screen you see here, I'm gonna play these videos. There's gonna be no sound. It's just gonna be us talking, but the videos will be playing just so you guys can kind of take in what's going on and all of that. So I'm just gonna start by like opening up the videos like this. I'll play this video and I'll just keep moving on to each video. So the first question, so I've lined up a few questions and then we can just talk about it. Let people know what's going on. So the first question is, what are your thoughts on protesting versus rioting? If you want to go first, if you want to ask.
Define what's the difference between a protest and a riot. Is
Okay, well,
violent?
yes, a protest is like saying, Black Lives Matter and like, chanting and what you went to today. That's a protest. A riot is destruction and violence and chaos. So what is your, I should have put these on my phone so I don't have to interrupt the video, but yeah, what is your thoughts on sorry guys, what are your thoughts on protesting versus rioting? What do you think, or what are your thoughts? I'll go first. So I think protesting is something we do for things outside of our country. So I feel like we can protest the things going on in China. We can protest things going on in Africa, even in the States, because I'm Canadian. Or if you're from the States, you protest things outside of your country because they're not things you can directly control, and they're not things you're gonna want to like riot for, because rioting your own country for something that's happening somewhere else doesn't make sense. Protesting it does make sense because it encourages other people to go and get the information for themselves, as well as be a part of allowing the government to see that we care as well, and not just it's happening in Africa, so we don't care. If the people care and we care enough, the government might put efforts together to help those outside of our country. I feel like rioting is something we do inside of our country when things like the George Floyd thing happens, or things like this, which you're seeing on the screen right now. I feel like that's the purpose of rioting, is to show the government, hey, like, we've had enough, and we're gonna destroy things until you guys make a difference or make a change or hear us. Because I feel like protesting in your own country about things that happen in your own country is a way. I feel like it's a way of control where the government can say, oh look, we're allowing them to protest. It doesn't mean anything though. So you actually have to go out and do the damage and show that like we're serious about this. And that's what I think protesting versus rioting. There's things that happen during rioting that I don't necessarily agree with, but the purpose of rioting I do understand and agree with, because I feel like protesting in your own country for things that are happening in your own country doesn't help anything. I think it just, well, I mean, it could help for people who are outside of your country, because then they'll see, oh, the Americans are protesting. But when it doesn't help within the country, those are my thoughts on protesting versus rioting. What do you think?
My thoughts. I think sometimes rioting is needed when so much injustice and murders happen, sometimes just peaceful protesting is not the answer. Sometimes you have to riot. Sometimes it has to get violent. Sometimes the only way that you deal with violence is with violence. For example, if I go outside and I kill 20 people, what's the repercussions? Okay, now switch the roles. What if a cop killed 20 people? What are the repercussions? What are the repercussions on protesting? And what are the repercussions on rioting? Sometimes peaceful protesting is just not enough. And sometimes rioting is needed. You have to remember a lot of the riots, the women's suffrage riots, the slavery riots. Sometimes so much damage is the like the catalyst for change. So my thoughts on protests versus riots are protests and riots are both a good thing because you're speaking out, you're changing things, and sometimes it's the right time for protests, sometimes the right time for riots.
Okay. Next question here is is looting necessary or is it just an accessory of rioting? Um, so I can start this one. I think looting, we had a discussion about this earlier. I think looting is not necessary at all for rioting or for protesting. I don't think it helps anybody. I don't think it's I don't think it has a purpose. I think it's just something people kind of catch on to and decide, yeah, let's all just do the same thing. Let's be a part of this thing. Like I've seen so many, small business owners breaking down about their businesses, and I've seen there's a Korean group that defended themselves in like the 1920s or something when they were rioting, and they're doing it again, and somebody made a joke about it, but it's a serious thing, and I feel like looting doesn't really help like anybody. I feel like it doesn't do anything to help what the purpose of the riot is for. It's just like it's definitely just an accessory of rioting. It's like I'm gonna take advantage of this situation and do what is right for me. I'm gonna loot. I was thinking about this by myself earlier, and I was thinking like, so what happens after you burn down every grocery store in your neighborhood, and the people who didn't riot and they're at home when the riots are over, when they're finally ready to go out, now they got to travel this extra long distance to go get diapers for their kids, or for toilet paper or whatever, because everything else is burnt down. You're not helping anybody. You're making it harder for the people who have decided, I don't want to be a part of the riot. I can protest at home, or they're just too afraid to go outside. And then when everything's done and through with, fine, you've looted and rioted, so you're good at your place. But what about all the people who didn't? What about all the people who stayed home and decided to do their own thing? And then I also heard someone say that the looting is necessary. What was it? Because uh, the looting is necessary because it's to show that big corporations, to show them like that right now is not the time. It was Tory Lanez. He was saying like big corporations is not the time for us to care about whether we're making money off of these our investments. Maybe I invest in like Target, and Target gets burnt down, and I'm like, oh, my investments. It's like it's just not the time for that. So looting, it shouldn't be seen as like oh, we shouldn't loot because my investments, but it's definitely like, okay, why are you looting? It's the question of what is your purpose, and I feel like looting is more of an accessory of rioting. Like it's just something people do during rioting than it is a necessary part of rioting, because I don't see how it could be necessary in any way possible. I just really don't. And so what do you think? Do you think, sorry, so the question is looting necessary or is it an accessory of rioting? So is it something that has to happen, or is it something that just happens because people riot?
I think looting is just side effect of a broken or fed up society. Yeah.
So it's like an accessory. So it's an accessory
Yeah.
to writing. Okay.
Aftermath of person getting shot in the face with a rubber bullet.
Okay. So the next question is. Oh, that's something. Okay. The next that was scary. You heard a little girl yelling. That was it on the video, but you guys can't hear it. So the next question is: do peaceful protests work? If you want to go first.
What do they get done?
Do they work?
Peaceful protest. Like, what is accomplished? You know what I mean? Like, look at all these videos of police literally brutally hurting, shooting innocent people with guns, arresting people, murdering people. Like, what is a peaceful protest gonna do? What kind of pressure is a peaceful protest gonna put on these cops that are...
So you don't think it works?
For major change, no, I don't.
Yeah. For me, I don't think peaceful protests work when it comes to things like someone being blatantly murdered on camera. Absolutely not. I feel like it's more of like hey, I don't want this governor to be a part of my, I don't want this person to be elected. A peaceful protest might work because you might sway the people. That's more of a mental thing. But when it comes to something that's super serious like this, I feel like peaceful protest is not the answer at all. I feel like, the everyone's got to feel it, and everyone has to see that like this is not acceptable. So I completely agree with the destruction and the rioting, and I don't think a peaceful protest would have worked in this case. I think if we had or not we, but if the Americans had peacefully protested this, I feel like that cop would have got off way easier, way easier for what he did.
Oh yeah, the pressure was
way easier. Like people would have blown it under the rug. Like, oh, it's just, oh, people are peacefully protesting. So what? It's not. I like I said in the first question. So the next question. What happens if the government charges the people for the damages? Signing new laws or higher taxes. Do you want to go or?
You can go first.
So I think, well, okay, here's the thing. It's unavoidable. If the government decides, okay, we are now, signing this law that states if you are a part of a riot, you will be prosecuted, or you know what I mean, or what else? Higher taxes. So like, yeah, with the damages, if people, if the government decides, okay, the riots happen, so we're raising taxes because we got to fix all this infrastructure. Sorry, I forgot my own question here. What happens after that? I feel like that's when people will peacefully protest, and I feel like, I don't know if it'll help, but that's the time to peacefully protest. Also, like I said, when it comes to like the looting and stuff, it's like if the government decides, we're not going to pay for this infrastructure, then it definitely comes out of the pockets of these corporations. It comes out of the pockets of these corporations. People lose their jobs. They don't want to rebuild. So that's the whole thing about looting with me, and like destruction with, well, I believe in some destruction. I don't believe in like, burning down like a Target, a whole Target. Like, some people got to get their groceries, man. That's what I'm thinking about. Like, what about the people who aren't riding right now, who want to get some groceries soon, and now they've got to like travel out of state to go get groceries because everything in their state was burnt down. You know what I'm saying? Or the city even. So, yeah, I don't know. Like, the aftermath for this is unpredictable, and if there's any new laws passed, I hope it's not by Donald Trump. I hope he gets like shoved out of there, because obviously there's all that evidence that came out against him about being a pedophile, and and it's raw evidence. It's not like, hey, this is not fake news like he's been posting on Twitter. This is like raw evidence. This is raw real court documents. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I feel like the aftermath is unpredictable, but you know everybody's gonna feel it. The people who are rioting, the people who think they're getting away with, you know, stealing, you know, everything from a sneaker store, and they're like, oh, I got those sneakers I've always wanted. It's like you're gonna feel it. You will feel it. What do you think?
What's the question again?
The question is, what happens if the government charges the people for the damages? So, what happens when if the government says you guys are responsible, you guys have to clean, we're not helping with anything.
I don't think it's possible.
You don't think it's possible?
How could the government force everyone to?
So like I was saying, so like what if they just don't do anything about it?
Oh, they choose to.
What if you burn down every grocery store in your neighborhood and the government says we're not paying for that? Then the corporations, they leave it for the corporations. The corporations say, well, you know what? We're just going to lay off all those people who work there. We're not paying for that. What happens after that?
Okay, good point. Man, I still don't think it's possible.
You don't think it's possible? You think that it has to be rebuilt?
Mm-hmm.
They have to listen to what's going on in the people, and they have to. Okay, yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, like, you know, if you get a good politician in office, for sure. I mean, they'll put the money aside, right? So, or they'll use, you know, the funds for good, instead of like, hey, let's put up a monument for this riot, you know what I'm saying, or something like that. So, next question, you gotta answer first. Will COVID-19 make a return with social distancing no longer happening? What do you think? Will COVID-19 make a return with social distancing no longer happening in America? What do you think? Do you think there's going to be a big spike of cases again?
Scam. It's a scam. No.
You don't think there's going to be a big spike of cases?
No, absolutely not.
I honestly feel like no. I honestly feel like I understand the risks and how it spreads and everything like that, but I mean at the same time, not that this sounds really ignorant, but you know everyone's wearing masks now, but yeah, no, not but I feel like yeah, no, it's not going to make a return. I feel like it's done with. I feel like if it will make a return, it's going to be next year, just like the flu is like a yearly thing. I feel like this COVID-19 thing is going to be like a yearly thing, and if it's not, we've got a lot of questions for the people who've put us in this state of fear, you know, because you know how does it appear for 1 year and never come back, and it's this deadly, right? So next question: will people be arrested when this is all over? What do you think?
No. How could they find everyone? And like, apparently they're like taking people away. Isn't that scary?
It's pretty scary.
And they're going missing.
So you don't think anyone's gonna get arrested after all this?
No, what's that?
I think that yes, people will be arrested. There's just too much video evidence of things going on around, and I feel like when things calm down, the police are 100% going to abuse their power and review videos and make arrests, especially for people who are assaulting cops and stuff. Not to say that it's wrong. I'm not with that. I'm not with the cops on this or anything like that. I'm saying they will definitely use their power to find these people and to prosecute them in a way, just because, you know, we're making our statement now, and that's fine. You know, not we, sorry, I'm not American, but the American people are making their statement now. But, okay, when things calm down, the government and the police will make their statement, and that's I feel like that is like a for sure thing that will happen. I don't feel like that's something they're just gonna let slide. Even if they do make changes, they're gonna you know, behind closed doors, they will be making arrests and harassing people who they find on video to be, you know, deemed as like threats or people who started riots and stuff like that. So the next question here, sorry guys, I'm just gonna check the timing on this. All right, what change has to be made as an acceptable resolution? What change do you think has to be made as an acceptable resolution?
Fuck, I don't even know. This was so fucked up.
I think as a acceptable resolution for this, I think they have to charge all 4 of those officers that were seen in that video, because they let that happen. And here's the thing about the law, okay? If your friend kills someone in an apartment and it's your apartment and you didn't stop your friend, you are also charged. You're an accomplice. You're there's an actual charge for it. Stop, please. And so I feel like if these guys, if they're not going to, charge those other 3 cops with at least being an accomplice of murder or something like that, I feel like it's just not going to be acceptable. That's what everybody wants, right? Everybody wants all 4 of them who stood by, who stopped everyone else who could have helped that man, and they stood by and did absolutely nothing. And I feel like they all needs to be charged. I feel like some politicians need to resign or be fired, because there was politicians saying like, yeah, no, he deserved it. And I saw a video, I forgot where it was, but the town called a meeting to get their mayor to resign, and he sat there and he was like, I'm not resigning. And he basically said like, yeah, no, like he deserved it. He was resisting arrest. When it's like, did you even watch the video? Like the guy's on the ground handcuffed with a foot on his neck, So I think I don't know what an acceptable resolution would be, but I think that we definitely need to charge and make these people take responsibility for what they did. These 4 guys who stood by and watched this guy die. It's just I think it's completely unacceptable. So I got 3 more questions here. I know you're getting tired. So the next question is, what will be the breaking point for martial law to be enforced? Now, with this, I've already seen on Twitter that they're already enforcing pretty much martial law curfews. They're already enforcing curfews now so that the rioting can stop and whatnot. I don't think it's going to stop because of the curfews. I think people are going to riot more. But if it does actually control the people, that kind of sucks, because then the government will feel a little bit more powerful again, or at least the police departments. And sorry, what was it? What will be the breaking point though for martial law? Guaranteed, 100%. If this looting and stuff ever goes to the suburbs, if at any point this goes to the suburbs, and people who spent like where it's just housing, residential housing, and people have these big huge properties, if it goes that far, martial law 100%, because those are the people who enforce that shit, is the rich people. But what do you think would be the breaking point for martial law to be enforced?
These riots.
You think they're going to enforce it because of the riots?
They already did. There's tanks on the road. There's videos.
Well, there's curfews and tank, but I mean, like, for them to say like martial law is now in effect, what would be the breaking point?
Continuous riots.
Just like non-stop riots. Yeah, for sure. Okay, we got 2 more questions. Which I've already spoke on at least here. Should the other 3 cops that stood by when George Floyd was murdered be charged? And my answer, you guys have already heard me. I said yes, 100%. It doesn't make sense, because if the law states that as civilians, if we stand by and watch someone get murdered, we are an accomplice of that murder or even crime. And I know the police are policed by the police. They have their own investigative whatever. And the thing is, these what's it called? Those other 3 cops, guaranteed 100% was like, oh, it was all him. We didn't know what to do. He's our superior. Blah blah blah, which gets them off scot-free. But they should definitely 100% be charged, because they didn't even try and help. They didn't even try and, I mean, okay, this is my supervisor, and my supervisor's, stealing from, let's say you work in retail. Oh, this is my boss, and I caught my boss stealing, and he always steals. Should I, be concerned? Yes, a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, maybe even you should be like, hey bro, I saw you stealing. You know, you don't have to like report him, but I mean, you could stop him. You could talk some sense into the guy. You know what I mean? Like you could make him feel uneasy about what he's doing. So 100% yes, I feel like they should all be charged with something, at least. You know, being an accomplice or even manslaughter. Even if they say we didn't know, that's manslaughter. That's still accidental death. You know. So, what do you think? Should the other three cops be charged with murder?
Yeah.
Or with
Not with murder, but
charged
with something.
Yeah.
Man, it's fucking sick.
Okay. And the last question here. Do body cams work and should they be mandatory? I think, well, I've seen actually videos of body cams. So I'm trying to find a good video here. Oh, here's one. I've seen videos where the body cams actually worked against the police officers. I've seen a video of these two police officers that conspired to plant drugs in some guy's car, and they actually got fired for it and everything. And they had code words and everything, so that means they've been doing it for a very long time. So I feel like body cams do work in that sense. I don't know how much of these body cams are actually being reviewed though. So I don't know. In a grand scheme of things, they probably don't work as good as they should. Should they be mandatory? Absolutely, because there is also that case in Toronto that happened with this girl who fell off or was pushed off her balcony. She had mental health issues, and nobody actually knows if she was pushed or maybe she had a scuffle with the cops or if she actually just jumped and like because she was mental. Nobody actually has any proof of it. But if even one of those officers had a body cam, we would have some sort of insight into what's going on. And I've also seen videos, the body cams helping the police, where some guy who was being detained was actually shot and killed, and the body cam showed that he actually had something on him or something. Or no, sorry, that's wrong. He reached for an officer's gun, and in the video you can actually see the guy reach for the gun and actually pull on it and almost grab it, and the other officer like shot him. Which, I mean, you know, I always feel like, you know, when you shoot these people in the leg, you know, I mean, a gunshot's gotta hurt, but you know, in the heat of the moment, I guess it's hard to tell because I've never been in that type of situation, so you can't really judge it. So I think body cams are definitely mandatory. And do they help? I think they help only when, you know, there's suspicion involved. If it's like we've arrested, you know, 30 people on these drug charges, I don't think anyone's looking at those body cams. You know what I mean? So, what do you think? The body cams? Oh my God, who's that?
I did her tooth gem.
Did you?
Yeah.
What?
I did her tooth gem.
Interesting.
What do you mean interesting?
I don't know. She's doing like a dance in a bikini. She's got a nice body. What do you think? Body cams? Mandatory or not?
Yes.
Yes, and do you think they work?
Yes.
You think they work?
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Because they proof.
Big proof. You tired of this vid?
Yeah.
Alright. Well, thanks for watching, guys. This has been a kind of a long video, but it's an important video, and this one's 30 minutes. So if you stuck around, thanks for watching. Thanks for hearing my opinions as well as HEYOKA's. And like, subscribe, comment, and you know, keep informed. Don't be ignorant to this type of stuff. Don't just keep continuing on your life. I mean, do continue your life, but don't like ignore it as if this doesn't concern me, because it concerns everybody. You know, at some point, everybody needs to be held accountable, and you know, I hope that I pray that, you know, everybody kind of understands this at some point, you know, and you know, God bless always, and thank you for watching.